Up next, Pro Moto number 1 with valuable championship points on the line for that current points leader, Joe Berg, going for his first ever ATV National Championship. Harold Goodman trying to play spoiler as much as possible as he remarks his territory in the ATV motocross world. And that is the number 13 of John Natale, defending champion, a little bit behind the 8 ball in points and also behind this weekend with the injury. Tough break for him, but another rider is going to try to dethrone Joe Berg this weekend is Keith Little.
So far, we haven't had the season that we wanted to. We had a couple of things happen, here and there. We haven't been getting the results. We wanted to be at top 5 at this point, and we're at 7th. So we're just a little bit short of where we want to be, but we're going to work hard to get there at the end.
Well, we will soon find out whether or not things are going to work out for the number 12 of Keith Little as the gate is down here in Moto number 1 as we drive into that first turn. It looks like Yoshihiro Suzuki, rider number 55, Digger Doug Gust, former ATV champion, is out front early on. He's got company from some of the young guns, including the 191 Honda rider of Dustin Wimmer out of Center Valley, Pennsylvania. But let's take a look at that hole shot one more time in the ITP Hole Shot Award, the ATV Stampede. As you can see, it's a pretty even match up to about halfway through, and then Gust all of a sudden just kind of pulls out ahead of the rest of the field and is able to capitalize and take the first turn without much problem and take over the early lead. But like we said, we got some young guns coming up hard and fast behind him right now, including Wimmer aboard the number 191 machine. Other riders to keep an eye out for here in this first include the number 12 of Keith Little. He's gotten off to a strong start right now so far, it looks like, as we've got a battle for the number 1 spot early on here at Steel City in the ATV Stampede as we see the riders making their way through some of these uphill rhythm sections. And these are very challenging sections of the race course. The camera angle does not do this track any justice whatsoever. The elevation change these riders are faced with from the bottom of that hill to the top of the hill here at Steel City. Again, a good look at the number 55 of Doug Gust as he makes his way around the top of the hill there, that rhythm section, the 6-pack in a curve there. And it's rather challenging on 2 wheels, let alone the 4 wheels. But these guys seems to have it all mastered here at Steel City. And Doug Gust, again, is proving himself to be the one to beat, at least here in Moto number 1 today. Keeping an eye out for Jeremiah Jones, who didn't get off to a great start, trying to work his way up through the pack right now. It is Little in the number 2 spot. Dustin Wimmer has dropped all the way back to a number 5 spot here at the ATV Stampede in front of the grandstand doubles with those tabletop landings. That's where we saw Josh Upperman with the helmet cam actually take the nosedive. So we know that's challenging through that section. But these riders, again, taking it out without much problem whatsoever. And look at this. Here comes Little now, battling for the number 1 spot with Doug Gust, able to make the pass and take over the lead. And now Russellville, Alabama's Keith Little out front aboard that Honda. Yoshihiro Suzuki's Doug Gust running in the number 2 spot. And there's still plenty of riders back there that are going to be knocking on the door and want to be a force to be reckoned with here. Keep an eye out for the number 16 of Jeremy Lawson. He's trying to work his way up through the pack. Also the number 8 of Jason Luke, rider out of Zanesville, Ohio. We don't get to see a lot of. He's back there and he's trying to work his way up into a top 5 position. But all eyes are up front right now on Little and the 55 of Doug Gust as they make their way around, nearing yet another completion of another lap here at Steel City. Look at this, and here comes, nope, that's Jeremiah Jones actually working his way up through the pack now as we see him now just in front of Joe Bird. And it looks like Joe Bird is struggling quite a bit out there. Bird should be able to capitalize out here today, but not going to be able to as we take a look at that scroll across the bottom of your screen to see how things are actually starting to line up for these riders. And it looks like Joe Bird is struggling. John Natale doing a little better, I think, than what a lot of folks expected him to, but still struggling out there with that injured thumb, wrist, whatever the case may be. He's still got some more x-rays to get taken of that to ensure what the problem actually is. You got to wonder, should Natale be out here? But at the same time, that's his paycheck, and he's got to keep food on the table as he's going to be getting married here real soon. Look how tightly knit these riders are as Keith Little continues to hold on to the lead. Gust back in that number 2 spot, and he is trying his best to reel that number 12 machine back in. So don't count this number 1 position out for a major battle before this one's all said and done. And don't count out the 191 of Dustin Wimmer. Like we said, he's been coming on strong as of late. And with a top 5 ride early on here, could be a podium factor today, especially if he can ride 2 consistent motos here at Steel City. And what a great crowd we've got out here on hand to watch these 4-wheelers. Not quite the 2-wheel crowd that we normally see, but again, this is the inaugural running of an ATV National at Steel City, USA. located just outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Now, we told you we had 20 riders vying for top honors here today at Steel City in this inaugural running, and they do include riders like Keith, who is out front, battling it out right now with Doug Gus, the number 55. Other riders including Jeremiah Jones aboard the number 2 Yoshimura Suzuki, the 191 of Dustin Wimmer, he's out of Center Valley, Pennsylvania, the 199 of Downtown Patrick Brown, factory Yamaha rider out of Pittstown, New Jersey, the 708 of the Bumblebee Harold Goodman from Romulus, Michigan, the 53 of Corey Ellis from Marietta, California. Tried his hand at the Pro-Am Unlimited Racing on Saturday to try to get familiar with the Steel City race course. The number 16 of Jeremy Lawson out of Battletown, Kentucky. The 19 of Jason Dunkelberger from Trevorton, Pennsylvania. The 101 Rocco Arno from Bridgetown, New Jersey, also out there. The number 8 of Jason Luberg out of Zanesville, Ohio, running a strong top now. The number 75 of Joe Havistow out of New Ipswich, New Hampshire. The number 7 Joe Bird having some problems, like we said, in Moto number 1. He's your current points leader out of Union City, Tennessee. The number 32 of Matt White, also running a strong race in the Pro-Am Unlimited Racing on Saturday. 46 of Richard Pelshot, Canadian national champion out of St. Robulad, Quebec. Number 270 of Josh Creamer out of North Stonington, Connecticut. The 13 of John Natali out of Heltsdale, Pennsylvania. The number 30 Travis Spader from Point Pleasant, New Jersey. 99 of Justin Bress from Oakdale, Pennsylvania. And the 751 Trent Candle out of Millersburg, Ohio. Tough break there, as it looks like that the number 191 and the 270 of Josh Creamer get together, and Creamer gets the short end of the stick as we see him rolling. We'll take a look at that one more time in our ITP replay. Here you see Wimmer coming down underneath. They just kind of tap wheels there, and it was just a battle for the inside line, and it looks like Creamer comes up a little short. He looks a little frustrated, though, as we see those hands go up in the air. As you can tell, it's pure disgust and total just heartbreak for him here in this first moto, but it opens things up there for Keith Little. Now, before that little incident, it was Little, Gus, Creamer, Wimmer, and Brown. That moves Wimmer up into a number 3 spot, and the battle continues back there for 4th and 5th. It looks like Pat Brown move up into a number 4 spot, and Jeremy Lawson, who was running just outside the top 5, now moves into 5th place after Creamer's misfortunes there. There's Gus still in the number 2 spot, and Wimmer now in the number 3 spot, and there is Creamer. He looks like he is out of the race, not just down, but completely out of the race, so he's not going to be a factor here in the first moto. The factor, though, Keith Little up front, as he continues to try to put as much distance as possible between himself and that number 55 of Doug Gus. Some changes taking place back there behind him. We saw Little Gus, Creamer in 3rd, Wimmer in 4th, and Brown in 5th. But with Creamer being out, that'll move Wimmer up into a number 3 spot, all the while trying to chase down the veteran of Keith Little, the number 12. As you can see, even Doug Gus, one of the faster guys on the racetrack, having some problems getting that accomplished right now. But these riders in the same stretch at the same time. So Doug Gus, I'm sure, feels well enough right now in that 2nd place position to know that he might be able to close in as the moto wears on and we get closer to the finish. As we take a look at this, it is still Little and Gus 1st and 2nd. Wimmer moves up to 3rd. Downtown Patrick Brown in the number 4 spot. And Jeremy Lawson now rounding out the top 5. Lawson, we've seen some of greatness out of him so far this season, but we haven't actually seen a good solid ride by that rider just yet, but don't count him out for one before the season's all said and done. He is challenging right now Brown for that number 4 spot. Meanwhile, John Natali way back in the pack, just trying to trudge along and get as many points as he can here this race weekend. You got to wonder just how bad or how well that the number 13 machine may be doing out there today. Well, he's running back about a 15th place position at this point in moto number 1, so he's not a real big factor. Another not a big factor, and this could really stir things up, and a big sigh of relief, I guess, for the number 13 of Natali right now. The fact that Joe Bird having problems. He too back there in about 16th, 17th place, battling for a 15th place position. So whether it be up front or back in 15th, these two still going at it, and that could be the championship race, believe it or not, back there in about 15th place positions. We take a look at that scroll one more time. No changes up front. Little and Gust. Wimmer in the number 3 spot as he is trying to hold his own up there with some of the veterans. Lawson up to 4th. I guess Bird not as far back as what we thought. Getting some reports or looked at that one wrong, as Bird is currently running 5th. Jason Luberg in 6th, 7th places. Jeremiah Jones. Pat Brown drops out of the top 5 to an 8th place position. In ninth spot, Corey Ellis and Harold the Bumblebee Goodman rounds out the top 10. Then you got Rocco Arno back in 11th. The Dunk, Jason Dunkelberger in 12th. And John the Tally back in a 13th place position. But all are trying to lay chase to the number 12 of Keith Little. Look at the gap now. Not nearly as large a gap as what we saw earlier in this race, as Doug Gus looks like he may be starting to try to reel in Little now as we are approaching past the halfway point and working now on the conclusion of Pro Moto number 1 here at Steel City, USA. Like we said, Natali in a 13th place position, and Bird we thought was doing a little worse than what he was, or if he was, he's really made up some ground out there as he's out in about 10th place. I thought I saw him draw it back, but moved up into an 8th and now all the way up into a number 5 spot. We'll see if he can hold steady there, and that's going to be good for news for him as he's going to be able to make up some valuable championship points. There is the number 191 of Wimmer, the number 16 of Lawson running in the 4th place position. Lawson again having a phenomenal ride here. You got to wonder if it's new ground to these guys, and these guys think that maybe they have a little bit of confidence now heading into this one because it's even ground. No other riders have seen this race course, so they think that they can score just as well as anybody else. So that might be a good boost of confidence for these riders, and plus it might suit these riders' style, the bigger, more wide open jumps and higher speed racetrack, what we have here at Steel City Raceway. There's that rhythm section we were talking about, the 6-pack across the top of the hill. It goes through a curve there. Very tricky. If you can double into that one coming off of a sky jump out of the bottom of the hill there, you can really set your rhythm up. But right now, look at this. It's tightening up. Remember what it was like a couple of laps ago? Now look at it. Here comes Gus trying to sneak underneath, but Little slams the door on him. But we know Gus is now in the hunt. And there's Joe Bird trying to work his way up through the pack, but looks like not running nearly as strong as what he wants to, but at the same time, he's probably trying to run a very calculated race at this point, knowing that all he has to do is try to stay ahead of Jeremiah Jones and also try to stay ahead of John Natali. Natali, biggest threat, but he also wants to keep an eye out for the 55 of Doug Gus. But as we well know, Moto number 1, Moto number 2, it might tell a different story coming out the second time around. So maybe Bird is just trying to bide his time right now. But Gus is not trying to bide anything. He is trying to take over the lead right now as they go through the chicane just past the first turn region. And Gus is in the hunt. Swimmer in the number 3 spot. Lawson in 4th. And as we said, Bird back in the number 5 spot. Let's see if he can hang on to that one. It is Gus now challenging Little, but Little is not wanting to relinquish that number 1 spot. But I don't think it much matters what Keith Little wants at this point as they're swapping back and forth here at Steel City. What a great first moto race, and Doug Gus has taken over the once more, or will he? Little right back on him as they go side by side up the uphill doubles now, making that hard horseshoe turn and heading back down and the horseshoe back up toward that sky jump, and it looks like Gus has taken over the number 1 spot. There's Jeremiah Jones trying to work his way up through the pack right now. Look like he might be doing some battle with Brown and also Corey Ellis as well as Goodman back there. But all eyes, as tight as that race is back there for 6th, 7th, and 8th place right now, are on the number 1 race with Gust and Little, and Gust has regained the number 1 spot. Actually taken the whole shot and was in the number 1 spot in the early part of the race, but Little saw a weakness and he struck and went for it. There's Natali again just limping his way around. Look at this. Natali actually stopped and talking with his mechanic, D. Mansack, and D just tells him just hold on there and try to get through this first moto, and we'll try to set the bike up a little different. Maybe you'll be able to ride a little bit better with those wrist problems. I'm sure suspension is going to play a big key role in that. There goes that battle for first. There comes 3rd place ride, the 191. There is Lawson still back in the number 4 spot, and it looks like that all eyes are going to be focused on the number 55 and the number 12 as this race wanes on here at Steel City. It is Gust, it is Little first and second, Wimmer in 3rd, Lawson in the number 4 spot, and Gus just trying to hold his own out there as they may be approaching some lap traffic. We're going to keep an eye on that one as we did have 20 riders starting this one. But we're starting to see some of these riders actually fade out. We saw Creamer, he was out of it. Travis Spader also having problems here in this first moto aboard that number 30 Progressive Suspension Yamaha that he rides out of Point Pleasant, New Jersey. And now look at this battle for new 5th place rider Jason Luberg, who has the 6th place ride, the number 2 out of Bowling Green, Kentucky, Jeremiah Jones in his hip pocket right now as they're making their way around the Steel City USA racecourse. There's the other Yoshimura Suzuki pilot, Doug Gust, in the championship points race. Jeremiah Jones trying to make his mark, and after 9 rounds of racing might be able to do that with a strong finish here today at Steel City. And one thing that may help him achieve that is the fact that Joe Bird gets off to the side of the track and actually loses some time out there. I think we may actually have him marked in a top 3 position now, but I believe that Bird is a lap or 2 down after struggling going off the side of the track in that tabletop